Hey, this is the World Advice Channel 2. What I want to talk about today is the problem with the alpha male mindset slash ideology. So for this video, I'll explain in a simple and straightforward way the problem with the alpha male way of thinking that's been promoted by the likes of people like Fresh and Fit, Andrew Tate, Jordan Peterson, and many others when it comes to the way of thinking and the problem with the way of thinking, to be more exact. Okay, so now I mention that, let's get started. So when it comes to the problem with the alpha male way of thinking, is it simply comes down to the fact that the alpha male way of thinking in the human world, especially since we are humans, so of course we're going to focus on the human world, doesn't really work. Because the way of thinking that it teaches ignores the most important thing that made humans powerful, which is cooperation. And, or more like to be quite blunt, benevolence for that matter. Cooperation and benevolence, okay? Our way of thinking, okay? Because the thing about the alpha male ideology, especially if you look into it enough, especially when you take in consideration their views on women and so on and so forth that you hear about all the time, their way of thinking is very predatory. It's very obsessed with power and control and and all that type of stuff, you know, and their way of thinking, in all honesty, I feel like if we had more people who think like them, which is why I find this ideology so dangerous and why it should be called out for the bullshit, then I don't think we would have the things we have today in this world as a species, to put it bluntly. Because the alpha male mindset teaches people to see the world a certain way. And with the examples I gave before, specifically was his views of women, it teaches people to think in a very controlling way. I'll do exactly this. You won't tell me what to do. I'll do things this way and blah 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 blah, and all this type of stuff. And it's just the way of thinking is not should not be mixed with confidence. It should be mixed with just simply I just want to control people way of thinking. Okay, that's the truth of the matter. Because when you look at their alpha male mindset and ideology, okay, back to what I was saying before, like I feel like we wouldn't have the things we have today. The thing that made America, which is now the most powerful nation in the world and it's been powerful for some time, that's made it so powerful and relevant in the world, you know, is down to the fact that the Americans, once you get past obviously the controversy related to race, but whatever. To make this simple, we'll just use the basic premise that America's mantra is that all men are created equal, and stuff, just to make this simple. Okay, so yeah, back to what I was saying about America for that matter. America's way of thinking versus the British, who once were the most powerful nation in the world, is that America's way of thinking was that we'll give everybody in the world a chance, okay? Everybody in the world a chance to be able to go higher. We'll actually give people, the majority of people, and not just the majority, the vast majority of people for that matter, you know, to be quite honest with you, the ability to actually have a decent quality of life, be able to eat food that's actually enjoyable, be able to have a decent quality house, that actually is well ventilated and can prevent people from getting cold and whatever, or too hot, whatever you like to say, or even just straight up whatever for that matter. You get the point. Like a decent quality house, let alone of course, being able to travel the world and so on and so forth. That is what made America so powerful for that matter, when it became the world's powerhouse, especially after World War II. That's what made it powerful because they treated people so well. It gave people more opportunities to do things, and as a result, generated more money and a lot of different things as a result of that. Well, the British historically, and even in the 20th century, still had this draconian, predatory wolf mindset where it was just like, okay, all we care about is making sure that the people who have actual power, like and privilege, like the royalty, the powerful people of their society, get to experience the best things. Like a Britain, in that even in the 20th century, the 1900s, which was the last millennium, for a good portion of it, still had this way of thinking that British people were, that if you want something that's actually good and enjoyable, let alone the privilege of travel and so on and so forth, you had to be of British royalty. or at least a higher ranking person in society, which of course is stupid because it obviously alienates a huge portion of the base of your nation, which as a result makes it more likely that your people, of course, are not going to have as much buying power because everyone's too poor to buy things and only buy things like that they need, like eating and drinking, as well as clothing and basic amenities to keep them alive, which is the main point I'm trying to get here. Okay, in the end of the day, when you have a nation that is focused more on helping people in general as a whole, it offers more buying power. It creates more buying power, which helps make the nation richer and more powerful as a result. Let alone helps because there's more people who have a voice, generate more creativity, generate greater productivity because they're being treated better, and so on and so forth, which just makes the nation more powerful versus a nation that thinks in a more draconian, malevolent, only the strong survive way of thinking. And that's exactly the truth of the matter of what I'm trying to get across here. And that's what I'm trying to explain. And that's the reason why I find the alpha male ideology so dangerous, okay? Because it teaches people to start thinking in that type of way, and not just some people, but a lot of people think in that type of way. And that can maybe lead to people maybe coming up with ideologies, not just ideologies, political belief systems that actually make it more likely that we're gonna not have the freedoms we have in the world today. The world's gonna kind of fucking start to suck, and it's gonna start sounding like how it was 100 plus so and so years ago, which is not what we want, and that's a problem I have with the way of thinking the alpha males have. Besides, at the end of the day, to get to the second point, aside from how much privileges we gain from having a more less predatory minded society. The truth of the matter is, when it comes to the alpha male mindset, the other problem with the alpha male mindset, and not just the alpha male mindset, but this whole culture we have in this our society, is whole obsession with glamorizing predatory, animals, and predatory way of thinking, to sum it up, for that matter, okay? And that's one of the biggest problems I have with our society, is that we have this obsession with always glamorizing, you know, people who are evil, and that's one thing that kind of gets to me though. And it's not even just hating on animals, because obviously animals are doing what they're doing, but it's this whole culture of like idealizing animals and applying it to the human world. Like, oh, even though I'm human, I'm gonna think more like a wolf. I'm gonna think more like a lion, or I'm gonna think more like a tiger, and all that type of way of thinking. But that way of thinking is stupid, because if we had that way of thinking, especially when you see all those animals even treat each other, we would not have the things we have today. Because for that matter, because one of the things that made humans so powerful is the idea of sharing and offering things more equally among people. If you're just gonna, just screw people over and just focus more on yourself and be controlling and stuff, people are not really going to want to work with you. If you're shouting at people, oh, you do this, I'm not going to play this game, you do this right now, then people are going to start turning on you and start hating you and stuff. That's what I'm trying to say. That's not how the world works, in all honesty. In honesty. And their whole way of thinking about the survival of the fittest will just also help people start thinking, okay, I just want more shit for myself. If I have a group of people who work with me, well, I can at least share it pretty decently among a good portion of my money, equally among the people. I'm just gonna think to myself, fuck these people. I'm gonna have 90% of the stuff for myself if like I have money or something, and give like the rest of the people scraps, which is exactly what I'm trying to get at here. That's how an animal would think. But humans, we're smarter to at least realize, okay, I'm gonna at least make sure I get 60% and give the other 40% to the other people. That's what I'm trying to say. We're at least somewhat fair. Yes, we are still greedy overall. When you look at human history, you can find much evidence, but at least we're somewhat fairer, compared to animals. And that's what I'm trying to say here, if anything. And I just feel like if we have that way of thinking, we're just gonna cause more problems. Besides, just that way of thinking sounds like something a Brad or Chad Popular kid would say. Like all those type of kids back in the days in school, especially before people were not distracted by smartphones, there was, oh god, I hate those people. Like the type of people, who people would, who used to be dicks and they like to like tell people off when you had arguments with them, or like if you looked at your girlfriend the wrong way or something, or even said the smallest thing, even if it's relationship advice, they'd say they want to punch you in the face. Like those type of people. I hate those type of people. What the hell, dude? You want to think more like those type of people? No, fuck them. And that's what I'm trying to say here. So in short, to answer your question, no, this way of thinking is not a good way of thinking, and I feel it's toxic, and it'll just screw things up. I don't think it's a good way of thinking. What makes you become a good leader is having a vision, having good ideas, and this and that. Thinking in a way where I have to be confident, I have to put down other people, and all that way of thinking is not a good way to be a leader, and it can eventually backfire against you. And that's the truth of the matter about my idea, because I'm so sick and tired of hearing this shit all the time. It's mad annoying. And this is off to say and simply put it out. So